Good evening. My name is Keith Romano. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland Wetlands Commission meeting for the town of Monroe. Today is the January 22nd, 2020, and time is 7:06 p.m. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to introduce the members of the commission and staff present tonight. Starting on my right is Ross Massaraco, Clark Gingras. To my left is Lois Spence, who's our secretary and vice chairman. Donna Skaczynski is our office manager. Denise Halstead is our inland wetlands agent.
And we are missing our clerk.
We're missing our clerk, yes.
Yeah.
Before we start, I'll read our mission statement and how the meeting will proceed. I don't think P&Z. The objective and purpose of the Inland Wetlands Commission is to provide for the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses within the town of Monroe. The procedure. In the normal course of our meetings, we will hear public hearings and other applications. The protocol for public hearings is to have an applicant make a presentation to the commission, during which and after which the commission will ask the applicant questions. The commission will then review town, staff, and other independent comments. The meeting will then be open for public comment. I will ask that all comments be made to the chair or commission. After any and all comments pro in a position or of general nature are made, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. It is not necessary that the applicant respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There will be no further opportunity for new questions unless new materials entered in as evidence or testimony during their response. Please keep all comments pro and con specific to inland wetlands related matters. Other applications that do not involve a public hearing will follow a similar format with the exception that there will be no public comments allowed. The meeting follows our published agenda unless otherwise amended. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There is just one part under item 12, under general discussion, the addition of 1 Main Street. We're to review current conditions and determine if an application is needed for some proposed activity. And I think that's it. Do you have anything else? That's it.
Vote on, right? To vote on the acceptance?
Huh?
We have to vote on that, accepting it to the
No.
minutes? No, it's we're
Yes,
good?
that was on.
Okay.
I just have it.
This at this point in the meeting, we have our general public participation. Anybody here would like to make any comments to the commission for anything? Please come up. State your name, sir.
My name is Larry LaPierre. I work for Solely Engineering. We're an engineering firm here in Monroe. And you just mentioned that 1 Main Street is going to get discussed tonight, and I just wanted to give the 90-second version on how that came to be, because it wasn't on the agenda and it's something we're going to discuss. 1 Main Street is a very small piece of property, about 1/10 of an acre. It lies between Main Street and Old Turnpike Road. It's a little triangular piece right at the town line, on the north end of the town line with Trumbull. It is within Monroe, and it's, as I said, a very small piece. We, Solely Engineering, prepared an excavation and fill permit for 7 and 15 Main Street. Now 7 and 15 combined is about 6 acres, and it's, again, an excavation and fill permit that we were processing through P&Z. And 1 Main Street was originally left off because it's a small piece, it's between the 2 roads, it didn't make any sense to try to include it, there was really no value to the proposal, and so it was left off of our proposal. In discussing with the Planning and Zoning Commission, 7 and 15, they asked us to look at the possibility of changing the alignment of Old Turnpike Road, and in doing so, using 1 Main Street to accomplish that. So as we were processing through P&Z, we were considering adding 1 Main Street to that application. So we went out and surveyed 1 Main Street, which we had not done previously. Now, on 1, if you look at it, we knew it was a small piece, but we didn't know exactly what was included with it. And after we got the survey back, which is about 2 weeks ago, or maybe a little more, we determined that there was a head wall and a little a culvert and a drainage path on 1. And so we realized that there was the potential for it being under your jurisdiction. And if that were the case, then that would complicate what we were doing with planning and zoning in terms of adding it to the application. So we sent Jim McManus, who's a wetlands scientist, soil scientist and wetlands delineator, out to the field to determine where the limits of the wetland were, if in fact there were wetlands. I honestly didn't know, and I just assumed that there were. It was a drainage path. Jim went out last week, and his conclusion was that it was a non-jurisdictional area. There was no wetlands and no watercourse. So now the discussion I think that you're going to have is to what extent is it jurisdictional, or is it in fact non-jurisdictional, and then we will proceed with planning and zoning based on your decision as to whether or not you have jurisdiction. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'm going to stop talking now, and our item is not on the agenda, so I won't be speaking anymore this evening, although I like to talk. But I hope you understand what the situation is and read Jim's letter and understand where he's coming from. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else, public participation? Okay. Subdivision reports, recommendations to P&Z Commission, there are none. Regulated activities, regular meetings, nothing. No public hearings. Enforcement, no LV discussion. Remediation submissions, IWV-2019-03, 48 Cold Spring Road, unpermitted structure and debris in the regulated area.
Bill Carboni, Spath, York and Associates, representing the violator, a professional engineer registered in the state. This project, or this violation actually, was found by a inspection by this town on a related or a nearby piece of property. It was found that this area had been cleared. It is on town property, and the red line is the 100-foot regulated area. This area, the trees blew down during Hurricane Gloria in 1985, give or take, and there are buildings that were constructed in the regulated area. However, these were done in 85, and I believe this commission came into being in 87, if I'm not mistaken. So these were not regulated areas. But this area in here, where the trees were blown down here and on his property, they were cleared and removed back in the 80s. Now, this is not on their property, and he's not contesting that it is a violation. He's just met all the conditions that the staff has put on this. One of these two sheds is to be removed, the other is to be relocated in this area. A gravel area through here is to be removed and reseeded. There's two spruce trees in here that are to be planted with trees and shrubs per Eric Davidson's recommendations. To plant the trees and such are listed in here, along with the number of each one. These are the staff recommendations. They are the biologist recommendations. At the last meeting that we were here, there was a silt fence put along the downhill side where we're going to be planting. That was removed at the commission's recommendation in that it would do more disturbance than benefit. So this plan we're asking to be adopted, and the property owner has agreed to do all of this work. Any questions?
We talked about time frame, right? The last meeting?
Yeah, it was talked about, but no decision was made. other than it was the normal 90 days. I guess the question would be, when does the 90 days start?
Suggestion?
This is what, end of January. So if it were as of decision time, it would be February, March, April. It's your contention that we can, not contention, but you believe this could be done in a fairly short amount of time, the work that needs to be done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a very complicated job.
Right, okay. Well, to get it in on the, you want to say by the end of May? Because that gives them a month of,
I didn't hear the date.
I'm
think-
asking
They're
the
just-
commission, actually.
She's asking us, but she's thrown out the end of May.
End of May as a
Is that
possibility. That
reasonable?
would be 120 days, actually.
So the work to be completed by the end of May?
Completed by
Yes.
the end of May. Mhm.
Depending on the weather, that's possible, yes. Depends on when the
Well, the
planting
sheds can be
season.
moved as soon as the, as soon as the snow
As soon
clears.
as the building permit is obtained.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, it would be 90 days from when the building permit is obtained, I guess. I don't know how
How
that,
quickly-
the staff would have to.
How quickly is that
No,
supposed to
I think
No.
we would just.
Do it our own,
Yeah,
our own schedule,
Yeah,
okay.
because he can just delay getting the building permit.
right, exactly, so
We're
let's
not
not do
gonna
that.
Yeah, you're in the middle there. I don't know, does that sound good to everybody?
It sounds good, yeah, I think so. End of May.
So that means work begins in the beginning of March to get 90 days.
You can start whenever you want.
Whenever you
can-
get your
yeah.
building permit.
Well, I mean, obviously, they can't do it in the snow.
No,
Well, I
but
know there's a lot
he's
that
got-
can
he's
be
got at least
done.
He's got at least 2 months of, that's out of the typical snow season, April and May.
Right.
Typical.
that's
Not that we haven't got
fine.
snowstorms in April, but
Let's,
They happen
let's go with
sometimes.
work to be completed by the end of May, unless the weather is bad, and we'll come back and ask for an extension.
Is this the one we were hoping that they could do without a machine?
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, no, he's gonna need a machine to remove the gravel, but he isn't gonna go
And most
plant
likely to
little
move the
shrubs.
shed, too.
Yeah, but not
Yeah.
the plantings.
But he's got, little 2-gallon plants here, they're,
yeah, the ferns are no higher than 4 inches, which is not gonna be a really big plant.
I don't think, we're not restricting him to not be able to use one, but
Oh.
if he had to go in, or did we? Because we just don't wanna have him go and dig in 200 feet of silt fence and disturb all the ground and root mass for something that's a 1-day job. It's planted, backfilled, mulched, what's gonna happen? It's like a landscaping job. We don't have to put silt fence around for a landscaping job typically, and it's flat. So that was where that came from. But he does have to remove the gravel. I assume he'll be using a machine for that. And spraying the topsoil.
Okay, so you think that end of May is a pretty reasonable time?
Yeah, and if we're hit with like, the spring from hell, when it's raining every 3 days and it never dries out, we're all gonna know that's
Yeah,
the
we will
reality.
know, yes.
It's not like
We'll
we're
just
gonna.
come back and ask for an
Yeah.
extension, it's not a big deal.
I did have one question about there was a note in the bottom left of the thing. It says, owner is responsible for cutting of the lawn for the first full growing season. Now, we had a discussion about that last time, but I don't remember it being there. And there's gonna be a few issues with cutting the lawn. You've got 50 4-inch ferns. How do you cut around that?
No, there's a note here, Lois, on the
Yeah.
bottom right. The area is to be maintained by mowing once in the fall of each year. So it's one
That's
time.
for this area behind the shed. This area, the remediated area,
Oh,
is,
I didn't realize it was a
is
different
covered by the bubble on the left, on the bottom.
didn't we say we discussed that? Was it once a
We
year
did.
for maintenance?
You said, yeah, but you can't,
But he has, for 3 years of maintenance, he has to still have, the ferns have to be alive.
Right,
On the
if there's
final
no
inspection.
ferns
Right.
at the monitoring of the third year, he's
If
gonna
he
have
mows
to.
them down in the first year, he's gonna have to put them in by the end of the third,
okay.
it's-
But it should be the same then as the other note, because this is for cutting of the lawn for the first full growing season. That to me says you can cut it once a week. And that's not, and also, one of the requirements from the environmental scientist was to mulch around all the plants. So I'm just
Weed-eater.
wondering if it's, yes, I understand about the 3-year monitoring program, and that's,
Well, actually, this says for full growing season. Yeah, it's kind of,
it's very, so if we're gonna clarify, because his concern was the Japanese stiltgrass, which is a big concern, because that stuff is nasty. I don't know.
this is,
What do you think?
so is it 1 year or 3 years for this one? Because if
Monitoring
it's
is typically 3.
3, it's always
3, but this is off his property,
It's on
It's on
town
town
property.
town property, so we're granting him the right to cut it for 3 years in a row, or only 1 year? That's,
Yeah,
we're
you're
actually
exactly.
giving him the permission, someo's giving him the permission.
The town would have to give permission for him to
No,
cut it, yeah.
that's you guys.
That's us,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's our
us.
jurisdiction.
I'd just say cut it for 1 year if, you know.
I mean, why does he, do we even have to cut it? If the plants have to be there in 3 years,
I think it's more
We give
what's
them-
gonna be, it's this, what'd you say, it was siltgrass in between?
Can't that just-
Stiltgrass,
couldn't
the
that stuff just
Japanese
be
stiltgrass,
weed-eated?
That's-
No, a
that's-
weed-eater?
that's what we're trying to get rid of.
it could be weed whacked, I mean, there's,
Right.
I don't know how, when these
Yeah.
plants are done, if you could,
It's
you know.
not that high, that's not that high, it's,
No, it's only grows about that tall.
yeah, I don't
Have
know
it
if you
in my
wanna
lawn.
weed whack that though.
I'm just wondering what the
Actually,
purpose
vinegar,
is.
spraying it with vinegar is the best thing you
If
can
it's
do.
there to, if it's
It's
A
there
lot of vinegar.
to help the other plants, you know, to help for the survival of the plants, and he needs to do that to give the plants a fair, you know, shake at life.
That's why we typically.
I understand it.
Yeah, we normally let, like, once in the fall or, you know.
Right,
just
yeah, I can
before-
understand that the
Yeah.
occasional mowing, but this makes it sound like it's a weekly thing.
Right.
And,
Do you want the note changed to what it says on the area to be maintained by mowing in the fall each year for 3 years?
Yeah,
We'll just repeat it.
as needed for,
As
you know,
needed.
proper plant growth or establishment.
And
I'm just saying, like, you do it once in the fall, if it's growing all through the year, you're not helping it until the end of the growing season when they're going dormant. If the
Yeah.
idea is to keep the grass down to help the plants establish themselves, then it makes sense that you wouldn't want to be going crazy in May, June, July, and August.
Well, the idea is also, I don't know if there's any nesting birds out there, but they will be in the spring, and usually we do it in the fall to avoid any
What about-
ground nesting birds.
How about as necessary to provide the best conditions for plant establishment?
Spring and fall, I've seen on some past
Right,
ones.
but they're saying it probably would
Oh,
need
maybe
more
we
than
did.
one.
what do we need in this?
I don't know the, you know,
I
in
don't
terms
know
with
either.
the,
I've
Keith is
never had-
saying is that, yeah, in order to keep something
to
down.
keep some of it
Yeah.
down. So you do it in the spring
Cut
and then
it
you do it in the fall,
right?
at least maybe the first year or two, and then,
Well, it says 1 year, first full growing season. So I think the idea here is that you're not letting these things get overcrowded by, you know, weeds so that
Right.
they have a chance to establish.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like, he's gotta have plants there in 3 years, they gotta be alive.
Mhm.
All of them are gonna count, right? So if he needs to do some maintenance, I mean, it does call for mulching around each of them, right?
Yeah.
So if he does need to go in there and maintain any of the existing vegetation for the plants to have their best chance of survival, then we should grant him the permission to do that. I don't think requiring him to cut it is right? You shouldn't be required. We're not asking for this to be maintained.
no.
We just want the plants to
And
survive.
we want to keep the invasives under control. That
Right.
was the other thing, and at least until
Well, then is this-
these guys get big.
And that's for the once a year mowing. That's the reason for, no, that's in this area, sorry, that's the wrong area.
Well, we
Whatever-
can request that it be done no more than twice during the growing season.
But is it 1 year or is it 3 years?
The monitoring is 3
The
years.
monitor is 3 years, I understand, the plants have to be alive in 3 years, but
Right.
does he have to maintain this vegetation down
Oh.
for 3 years? Because as soon as you stop cutting it, it's gonna grow back.
Well, you know
So
what,
it's not
maybe,
like-
that
that's where I
would be
think we're
something
only-
when he gives us his monitoring report after the first year, the person who's monitoring it can send us a report and
And
determine
request
whether
if
or
it
not.
has to be done
We
again.
have seen some monitoring reports on other properties where they say they have to do such and such because you know,
Yeah.
there's been an invasive that's now taking over and, you know, it took some of their plants or whatever, so they have to,
The plants are so close together.
Are they
Somebody might
that
be-
close together? They look close together, but you know, when you put a 4-inch fern,
I'm afraid they might be tempted to just use a weed whacker in there.
Well, these
Yeah, with
things
it.
are probably showing, these trees are showing a 15-foot spread probably, if you scaled it, 15 to 20. They're not gonna be that big, they're 8 feet tall.
not to start with, no.
So there is a lot of space, this is very sparse. But then if we're asking it to be mowed all the time, it's like it's being maintained. We're trying to get away from it being a maintained area.
it's,
We'll have
it
to
is
go
a
back to
town,
wild, it's gonna,
town property too.
my opinion, as needed for the successful growth, successful growth of the plants in the first season. Or even then some, if the year spring, and then the report comes back and says, well, this thing is not doing well, and the recommendation is to maintain, you know, to keep the other vegetation down, to give these other things a chance, and that could be, you know, after the first year's report. And they could deal
Okay,
with it
how
at
do we
that time.
word that?
I don't know.
Owner is responsible for cutting the lawn to prevent invasive species for the first full growing season.
As needed, though,
Yeah, as
not every
needed,
week.
not as a wholesale, just go out and do
Yeah,
it.
not a weekly thing, that's what we're trying to,
That's where that's where it's like, it's kind of like based on the conditions out in the field.
Well, that's why I say to prevent the spread of
Mine
invasive
is needed for
species.
successful growth of new planting for
Well-
first growing season.
We're gonna,
That may be once a year, maybe once a month.
I think, in my mind, what's more important is that these plants survive the 3 years, and then it's all the way through. I mean, I don't want them to just die on 3 years, day 5. You know, it's not, but,
well, a stilt
I think
grass
that's the
will
plan.
kill out the ferns in no time flat because they smother everything. I don't
so
know
they
if you've
have
ever run
to,
into
so they have to
that
be
stuff.
alive in 3 years, whatever is required to do to ensure that.
Okay.
But-
All right,
We're good?
however you can wordsmith that.
Mow as needed for the successful growth of new plantings for first growing season?
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
good? Yeah?
Okay.
Sounds good.
That's fine. I'm not quite sure if 1 year is going to do it. It's
Well,
fine.
we'll see when the monitoring report comes in.
Right.
That's when a determination can be made whether we have to
Yep.
keep it going longer in order for the plants to have, you know, more establishment.
How about we can add a little addendum then, perhaps longer if determined by the monitoring report. How's that?
Good to me.
So with that addition, we're asking for the approval of this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to application hearing determinations, IWC 2020-01.
Give me a second. This is I'm trying to get it up. This is the application that I had presented, I brought up last week. It's the existing gas station across from the Big Y. The request had been to put it as a agent approval. Commission determined that no, it should be submitted as an actual application. Now, it's a determination whether it's for public hearing or just a regular review by the commission.
I move that we bring this to public hearing and that it's maybe in the public interest because it's very much going to be an obvious, it's a
Activity.
yeah, it's going to be a significant activity so close to the wetlands.
Can I-
We have an input from you?
No.
No, this is not an input. This is just an application
Determination.
determination.
There's,
So I can't challenge there is no significant activity here under your
hold on for a
definition.
second, we want to make sure, clarify we're doing what we're supposed to be doing here. This is a hearing determination. There's no-
Correct,
there's
this
no-
is
there's no
not a
input.
hearing,
So
it's
you just
determined
got
how.
it tonight, if you feel that you want to review it more? Yeah, I mean, you have to accept the application tonight.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to make a determination tonight if you feel you need to review the activities proposed.
So it sounds like, sir, I think you kind of missed, like, we've had this happen a couple meetings ago. There was actually an opportunity you had to speak if you wanted to at the beginning of the meeting, and you know, that time has passed.
Well,
So this is not an open hearing yet, we're just doing a determination.
normally, public portions do not address matters that are on the agenda.
This is-
Right.
yeah,
At least in
this-
most
this is-
places.
It being of the fact it's on the agenda, he's
Gen-
right.
Okay, so it's on the agenda, so does he still, then he doesn't have a right to,
All I want to address is not the substantive of it, I want to address the fact that you're going to make a determination, I believe, on a public hearing with something that does not meet your significant activity standards. As a matter of fact, something that actually improves an adverse condition that exists right now on the property.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen and Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant.
Thank you.
all right, so we have you made a motion, Lois,
I did. I'll repeat the motion that.
please.
That we bring it to public hearing in that it may be in the public interest.
A second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Massaraco. Discussion, anyone?
Only that we do have the right to bring something to public hearing if we feel it may be a significant activity, or if it's in the power, if it's in the public interest, or if there's a petition.
For the record, Lois, why don't you point out anything on there that you think, or?
I'm
You're back.
interested, I'm basing my motion on the fact that it's an extremely public area. It will be very obvious to all of the hundreds of people that go into Big Y every day, and they may have interest in knowing about it and having something to say about it if that's the case.
Anything?
I agree with that.
Agreement. What I see also is that, you know, you do have a foundation, you have some, looks like some drainage work, utility trenches. Not sure if that, do we have this? Do we have this?
You have this.
Yeah.
You
So
got
it's
it,
tonight.
you got it tonight,
So,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, we don't need to go into great
Yeah,
detail.
Well,
as to
we're-
why.
okay.
We
This-
just say it may have.
All right, so, take a vote. All in favor of moving this to a public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion passes. Moves to a public hearing.
When will the public hearing be?
The public, you will be notified of when the public hearing is. I will send you out a letter. It can be, hold on one second.
26th February.
It will most likely be February 26th, yes.
26th?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, over to other, IWC 2019-09, 17 Enterprise Drive, review of paved area and detention basin.
Okay, that's me. Okay, so,
You talked about this from last meeting.
right, so now I actually have
Because
the plans.
Because of the, whatever
Right.
the,
So now I actually have the plans so that we could talk about it a little bit more and how we want to proceed. So I'm not sure if this is grown, but this is the outdoor storage area. And now they have it's screened, it's bituminous pavement, they have a retaining wall around here. And the basin here, whoops, has grown in size from what was originally proposed. And it's grown apparently because of this impervious area. They said there was an increase, so they had to expand the basin.
That's on a different
So,
page. Expansion of the basin is on a different.
so we had approved this. It's in front of planning and zoning. These changes are due to planning and zoning comments. So the question is, does this go to an amendment, or how do we want to handle the changes from the original approval that we gave them?
I would like to see the proposed changes on top of the approved plan,
I agree.
because I can't tell
Yeah.
how different it is and where it's different.
Yeah,
So do you want an
Do we
amendment
have, do we have the,
application?
do we have the original, or is this the new one?
this is the new one, because I asked for the new one, because I said, we need to know what you have in front of planning and zoning that you would be basing our new application on, if that's what it is.
I don't remember being that big.
Hold on.
You mean the storage area?
This area that we're talking about,
Yeah.
I'm trying, yeah.
Oh, postpone.
they really should have.
This is
Given us
the
an
original
overlay.
plan. Yeah, this was the original plan.
This was the original submission? Okay.
Yeah. No, this is before he added.
I'm
it
not
on.
sure yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think they put it on there, but I think there might have been an interim plan in there too, because we definitely saw something.
So, I mean, this is the basin here. I know that they dragged it a little closer to the building and may have expanded a little bit up northward.
It's easier for us to look at page 2-21.
I think that's what this is, right? Yeah,
Should be-
two
that's
point one one,
No,
2.21.
2.21. It shows the expanded.
Shows all the grading.
2.21, here you go.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. That,
And see, at this time, that has expanded considerably, because see, this was that was a little dumpster area.
Right.
so,
At the time.
but this retention basin is what's bigger.
This is the one that was
Oh, yeah.
approved.
Yeah, so what they've done is
I don't think I can
push the
split
grading
screen.
closer to the building.
Yeah,
Okay, they've extended it that way.
extended it towards the building and a
Yeah,
little
and
bit
I don't think
north.
it doesn't look like they changed it going out towards the wetlands, but I can't,
Yeah, I think there's, well, maybe not, wait a minute. I don't know, what's with the little?
now they added
what's the little
something
That's,
though.
They added a
those
pipe.
little things are, it's showing you that that's what the area
Oh,
they
okay.
revised. That's what they said to
Because
me.
it kind of confuses the issue
They
here.
have an outlet control structure on the new one that they didn't.
It's different, yes, the Dale could, that is different.
The proposed trash rack, proposed outlet control structure. Is the proposed outlet control structure,
You want me
where's
to
that
get this
going to?
bigger?
Yeah, but where's, so to the right a little bit? It says
Emergency spillway,
it says
this,
proposed outlet control structure.
Right
It's
here.
not- Oh, right there.
right here, it's
So
it's
they-
on the cut line that
So they
they,
moved it. But I'll go down a little bit. So they've definitely reworked that. It's now on the new plan, it's going on the other curve above it, and it's obviously more substantial. It's got a 20-foot level spreader on it, and that one I don't think had it. So they've actually enhanced the drainage to some degree. That obviously added capacity, which is probably very clear in the calculations. And they've enhanced the outlet control structure. So they've done they've definitely did their work to make up for the additional area.
right.
So you can't really argue much on that.
I guess the question is just, the question that we're answering is whether or not we can do a modification of an approval?
Yeah,
Is
right,
that what it
because we
is?
had an approval, and the condition that we had on approval said that the outdoor storage area to be
Right. Be
drained
fixed.
away from the wetlands, whether gravel or paved, because at the time they were proposing gravel. We figured by code, planning and zoning was gonna want it paved, which is what they did want it,
Right.
which is why there's the increase in the basin. But,
And it's,
and for them, in order to grade it away from the wetlands, they had to build this wall and,
And they built a pipe, so the pipe will take the drainage from the parking into
Right.
the storage.
where's the pipe?
There's a, where'd they go? Where's that
I
little,
think it's in the corner by elevation 425.
No, if it looks to me like this is all,
Here's a new one.
Are you on 221 still?
yeah, 221. I see one adjacent to the right of the building.
They changed some of the
They
drainage
also-
through here because they were,
This is new too, isn't it? The,
Which?
There is no
underground-
catch basins in that
Yes.
proposed area.
Detention, the
Mhm.
underground detention is all new also.
and, yeah, it's true, and some of it's in the upland review area, because that's the upland review.
That's all new?
Yeah,
No, it's the same. That's the old plan or new plan?
this is a new
New.
plan.
Oh, it's not, the
This is the old plan.
old plan had no,
Had nothing.
Had
Because that
nothing.
was one of the things I had suggested, instead of using the basin, was to use underground detention. And they said, no, I don't know why they said no. But now they're using underground detention. And enlarging the
because,
So they had it all-
P and Z wanted them to pave it now, so there's too much water now gonna be coming off of that driveway and that parking lot.
So they had to somehow slow it,
They have
capture
to,
it
they have to
before.
catch it and slow it down and then put it into the catch basins.
it's not adding up in my head.
I mean, it's
That's not a, this detention basin is gonna take in the roof water? It's for the roof water.
It's taken everything. It's taken the
Parking lot.
the
Taken
parking
roof
lot and
water.
everything. See, this is all,
Roof water from the west.
Then at high level overflows into
And it's-
this thing, and then there's only one, so there's only one catch basin on this proposed that water goes into and directly goes into the basin. It's that one right there, above you.
this,
That's the only one that gets untreated, or, not untreated, but.
that's the natural, that's a,
That's a dynamics, the
yeah,
separator.
that treats
It's
it.
separate.
Oh, that's a
That is
separator.
one that's
That's a
treating it right
treatment.
here.
Which one? This
This one here.
This is a different,
I'm looking at the new one right now.
I'm looking at the new one too.
Am I
and it's
not in the new one? Oops, hold on.
No, that's.
Sorry,
that's
I'm back in the old one. That's it
So
right
that-
here.
That's the separator, not the one above it?
Yep, this is the separator right here. This,
Oh, yeah, okay. And what's that one now?
let me follow the arrow. It's a manhole.
Oh, it's just a manhole.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they have the
Okay, so they
underground,
moved it, no, that's.
they had to because of the underground structure.
Okay, so that has a grate on top of it, so it's taking some stormwater in it, in the top, right? Does that have a
Yeah,
top of frame?
proposed grate
Does that have a
top.
top of frame?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
says
Yeah,
proposed
okay,
grade
so there's a
top.
grade on that, so everything is going to that first. There's no, but they didn't add a pipe, all this is sheet flowing from the new area
Correct.
into, which
Everything's
looks
sheet
like,
flowing, yep.
the only catch base is the one on top of the separator.
No, there's one here.
Oh, that old
Basin
existing
here.
one, okay, yeah.
They plugged the pipe that went across, but they still have that catch basin here.
They plugged the pipe that goes across.
Yeah, because there was they used to have, there's a double catch basin here and they had a pipe here.
Does a grading plan show that as a low point, because it could,
They didn't, did they submit a grading plan on the new stuff?
There's an awful lot of papers
we-
here.
Okay.
so
Grading plan, let's see. So-
how did they not have this underground retention system previously?
They didn't.
They didn't.
They were gonna use the storm basin completely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get- but why, what pushed that? Because the expansion of the storm basin should be plenty for this extra area. Right? It's like,
Or maybe it's not, and that's the problem.
or maybe they
Because
missed.
they're not gonna add something they don't need to add.
Just,
They're not gonna add it for
seems
fun,
like an
that's for
awful lot of,
certain.
it. Not that there's anything wrong with having more retention, but
no,
I'm just
I mean,
wondering if
this
we're missing
is,
something, because this is quite a lot different.
I
And
don't
what
know
are
how, I don't know how big this area is, but I mean,
5,000
that's,
plus, it's 5,000 and change
And the other
square
thing
feet.
too
Okay.
is this
I remember
wall
reading
is
that somewhere.
5.9 feet tall. But they don't show. They don't show,
Somewhere I saw detail on that.
so it's,
We told them not to let it go down into the wetlands.
yeah.
Right,
So they
that's why
built
we
the
did this
wall.
whole thing.
And it's pushing it, it's gonna push it all
Am I-
back. towards-
But I don't remember wasn't there a plan that showed a proposed storage area in that vicinity? of the
yeah,
plant?
they,
It was.
yes, yeah,
It
I
was
don't
much
think it was
smaller.
quite this big.
It wasn't. I'm pretty sure that,
That's
You
why
don't
I
have that
was,
intermediate plan?
apparently, we must never have gotten as a, shoot, sorry. Sorry about that. Go back here. Creating plan.
It's also
Is it in the old
above the
file? If you
reserve
go out to
leaching
the
area.
current meeting and then go out again?
Yeah, because I was moving stuff because of that.
I don't understand why they didn't make, instead of making the pad so wide, they could have made it narrower and held the building longer. Maybe there's something in the way.
I didn't, yeah, there you go.
This is where I found the other plan, that's this
Oh,
plan here. See, they never scanned the one with,
And there-
when you put it in, remember, it was one of those, all of a sudden it showed up.
This would be a lot
Oh.
easier if someone from the firm was here walking us through this.
They had asked, but because it's not a presentation, it's for us to determine,
Whether we want a new application
Or an
or just
amendment.
accept a modification.
But
How
you can't accept the modification with input from the firm? To have them explain the changes? I mean, all we get to
Oh,
do is look
yeah.
at the paper?
Yeah, we would still see them. We
Yeah,
just
oh,
have to
yeah.
determine whether or not they have to make out a modification application. It's not a full-blown application, right?
Right.
It's
Correct.
just,
It's right.
explains the
Is it
differences.
too much, yeah, do you want to
So
know
we're not making a decision on this, we're just trying to determine how,
you're just trying to
how you
determine,
want to
how do you
address
want, do you
it?
want them
Do you
to
want them
do,
to just come to the next meeting and talk to you and,
and maybe
have
it's a
them explain
modification to your existing permit approval, or are you looking for a brand-new application?
so I do a brand new app.
I don't think we need a brand new application, because
Right.
they're actually improving what they, there's stuff that Lois was
Right.
suggesting, and they're actually improving it
Yeah,
now, so.
they're actually, in 3 areas here, as it is, well, 3 ways, they've actually highly enhanced this. And these measures are not cheap measures, so it's not like they're skimping.
Right.
but there should be some paper trail that
Mhm.
says
Yeah.
you agree to this.
Right.
Right, yeah, so, I agree, I don't think we need a full-blown application again. So a modification will have them list, and they would have to explain, give new plans, just like this, explaining what the differences are, and we would have to approve that, just like we approve a
would
regular
you-
application.
Would you like me to ask them to superimpose, so what was
Yes.
approved in one color
Absolutely.
and
Mhm.
Yes, different
Yeah,
colors,
yes.
showing the changes, and then I'd like to also see just a summary. I don't wanna look through 5 pages of calculations, but maybe a summary of the volume change.
That might be in the,
might be in the,
I think that was in the booklet that came with it. I think there's a booklet. Isn't there?
And I could just. I call them textbooks. Usually. The biggest question for me though is how much, I'd really like to know what the real difference is in the square footage of this parking. I mean, it looks very significant.
yeah, it does.
Where I thought, it seems like, I would feel
It's,
that's the real difference here. If they,
5,738 square feet of
Now.
impervious surface.
now, add it.
Well, before it was gravel, so
Before
that's,
it was
Gravel,
gravel, so
now
that
it's
wasn't
paved,
impervious.
impervious.
right.
But I thought it was not nearly this big. So we approved the one area next to the wetlands at a certain area, and now how much they've exceeded it, so.
We
they're
didn't
gonna have
actually approve anything. We don't, if it's not on the plan,
No, I'm
If-
pretty
if-
sure I remember seeing it.
I remember seeing something too, but I don't remember.
We did, but remember,
Yes, we
it was
must
at the
have.
last meeting, and he says, oh, that's when we first
Right,
saw
yeah.
the outdoor storage area. So I think that's why I don't have it on a jump drive.
And that's why we that's why we determined that it needed to be pitched away from wetlands. And Denise did bring up that P and Z was gonna require it to be paved, and they said, well, we wanna keep it gravel, and she said they're gonna require it be paved, and it was paved, is needed to be paved.
'Cause the other thing is why, I guess really doesn't matter to us how the water gets to the drainage system. Probably doesn't really matter.
Well, that'd
for
be
us.
something he would explain most likely when.
Yeah, I'm just
brings in
surprised
the
that they
plans.
didn't, like, unless there wasn't enough pitch, but why they wouldn't build up a 6-foot wall, why couldn't they, you know, work with the grade a little bit better and then just put like a catch basin along the end instead of building up a 6-foot wall, you know, right? This is pretty adjacent to the wetlands, right?
No, it isn't. It's about a,
They're still a
Well,
good
this
distance
whole, this
away.
whole thing right here is, are they 100 feet away?
no, not
this-
100, closer to 50.
Well, here's the
Okay,
100-foot
50 or
mark right
60.
here. If this is
Okay.
the 100-foot offset,
So that's about.
so you'd say about
40.
50, because it looks like this is
Yeah, halfway.
halfway between. Right, if that's the wetland and that's the
Mhm.
offset.
Right,
Yeah.
and on the other end, it's still, on its
And under
western end, it's still 50
And under
feet
6
away,
feet
too.
doesn't require engineering for the wall, right?
Pardon?
Under 6 feet doesn't require engineering for the wall?
I'm not sure. I thought if you were 5 feet, well, maybe it is under 6
Because they're
feet.
calling bottom of wall 422 and top of wall 427.9.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And they got, it's not as much at the bottom here, it's only 3.
I think a modification application would be fine, personally. What do you guys think? 'Cause we don't
Okay.
need a full-blown application. We pretty
I
much
agree with
figured
that.
out
I'm just trying to figure out what we want to really have them explain to us and make sure they can come to us with what we really want to discuss and not be like, oh, we forgot about that intermediate plan. You know, we want to see
Yeah.
how this whole thing progressed.
All right, so let's come up with a list of things that Denise is to ask for when she,
Well, summary of volume changes, a plan which shows what was approved versus what is proposed, showing it in color so we could visually see.
overlay of difference, okay. And the rest of it, I would imagine, do you need something else in writing, or is testimony good enough?
And writing from-
Well, I mean, when Denise asks for the modification application, she will also ask for an overlay, which is
Yep.
one of the things we haven't gotten yet and we do want. Is there anything else that you want in print? Okay, because everything else could be covered with questions and answers during the hearing.
I think so. Yeah, as long as we see the progression of how it went, how it got to here, from where the because I think it's a little bit more complicated because this is now bigger.
Yeah.
Like, why did they not know they needed it this big when they came to us the first time around?
To be honest, I think they threw it on last minute on ours. Because we didn't even catch it until the night that we were trying to, that it was closing the
And as
hearing.
far as walls and construction walls, that's a P and Z matter, right?
Right.
So the fact that it's at whatever, it doesn't matter. But do they override you know? In thinking about preserving the wetlands, you know, how does a boulder wall really like keep, like from, is there like construction detail? I mean, that's the only thing I could be made concerned to, is like, when you put together a boulder wall, they're not always like, you know, so tight, where granted, if all the water is sheeting off it, there won't be much perking through and liquefying any soils
Right, 'cause
to
it's
pass through,
paved.
because but, you know,
It's paved and it's pitched.
I think they were also talking about curb, so there should be curbing there, so unless the wall was very poorly constructed in fill or something, then it's,
yeah. it's-
Sorry.
it should be secure enough.
I mean, I
But
think
once
it's really
again,
not-
P&Z would handle that.
Yeah, I think that's just, I'm just thinking about, the integrity of it, for, you know, how, because it's next to wetlands, but it's 50 feet away, so it's not like terrible.
Right, well,
You
that's
know,
one of the
if it
reasons
were to-
they
If
did
something were to
that.
happen to it, it's not like, you know, it's not like a whole mountainside is gonna wash in.
Well, that's one of the reasons they did the wall, was to prevent
Well, they did the wall for the grading.
necessary
You couldn't
grading
possibly,
all the way down, because they said they were gonna have to grade all the way down to the wetlands if they if
Yeah.
they didn't use the wall.
At least 18 feet in the
So,
area where it's 6 high.
I think
All right.
this is a better plan.
Okay, for the record, at 7:56 PM, Commissioner Jim Stewart joined us.
So do we need to make a motion on that or anything?
No,
Nope.
nope,
Okay.
it's just, Denise will send out a letter, or
All right, so we're done there. Moving along, we have
it's still,
interview status discussion.
Oh, boy.
Good evening, Barbara Schellenberg, Land Use Council. I'm asking that the commission vote on the issue of the intervener's application for 64 Cambridge Drive and 4 Independence Drive. There was discussion about that at the last meeting, and it is my recommendation that the commission vote not to accept the intervener's petition at this time, because I don't believe that the discussion the commission is having with the property owner arises to the level of a proceeding, as that term is used in the applicable statute. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have a definition for proceeding?
There are various definitions of proceeding. This is not a clear-cut issue. I researched the issue, I read a number of cases, and I think that because there's no application before the commission at this time, there's no decision, there's no hearing, it's just not the type of matter at this point in time that, again, arises to the level of a proceeding, as that term is used in General Statute Section 22A19, which is the applicable statute. There is no question in my mind that if and when an application is filed, which I know we are expecting at some point in the not-too-distant future, that there will be an absolute right to intervene at that time.
Is there case law that you can cite that where people did not have the right to become an intervener?
Yes,
An example?
not under these specific,
Exact, but
right,
similar-
circumstances.
something similar.
I do have a case, and that case is Hillen Davey versus Plan and Zoning Commission, 57 Con Ep. 589. That's a 2000 appellate court case. So the language in that case is what led me to believe that that this is not the appropriate
And what kind
matter
of
for
hearing were they
intervention.
having?
Excuse me?
What kind of hearing was
Well,
planning and zoning having that?
That actually dealt with intervention in a court proceeding. And specifically, the situation there was that a person who had failed to intervene before the proceedings, before the commission, could not then bring a court action. But again, what I looked at there is the discussion about the statute and generally how the court looks at a proceeding under the statute, because there is no case directly on point. So this is, again, based on what I received from both attorneys and my own research that I came to this conclusion.
What do we risk by giving him the ability to be an intervener?
And the point is, he then can speak at any of the proceedings just as the property owner could. He then could appeal anything that the commission does. An intervener becomes a party to whatever is going on.
If we're not making any votes and we're not making any decisions,
Yeah, so how many opportunities does he have between now and the point where he would be able to, you know, speak on behalf of his client during a proceeding? How much opportunity does he have to even intervene between now and then? Because we're saying that he's fully capable to present once we're in a public hearing, right?
Yes.
So what could possibly happen between now and then? We're expecting them to come back the next meeting?
26, no, end
Two
of
meetings,
February
end of
26th.
February, to give us a snapshot of what's going on there, so that we can
Right.
determine and discuss how we want them to remediate. And then the next hearing from that
Then
is,
they'd have to submit a remediation.
they have to submit a remediation plan, which is
Submission.
submission, but is it gonna be would that be a public hearing, or is that just a?
Oh, I'm sure you're gonna have that as a public hearing.
But it
It
but it's a
doesn't have
no,
to
it's a
be-
remediation.
Have to be a public hearing
Right.
for intervention, just an application.
No, my question
But
is-
keep in mind beforehand, anything that the commission does, even if you do not consider it a decision, if intervention is allowed, then there is going to be the opportunity for that party to go to court and basically challenge anything that the commission says. I don't think it's appropriate.
But they
at
still
this
have that
point
right.
in time.
They could do that, they can go to court at any time that they want to also, right?
Well, all they could go to court on now, if they want to, is they could challenge, if the commission agrees with my recommendation and does not accept the intervention petition, yes, they could go to court and challenge that if they want to.
So at what point, so again, I'm still trying to clarify in my mind, what point during the course of this resolution on this property will they have the opportunity to speak without this intervention? If it was not granted to them, at what point in the?
They
so we
can-
said
they
if
can
this
always
is-
speak
This
at
is a
the-
notice of this is a notice of violation right now,
Correct.
okay? And at no point in a resolution does it become a public hearing, right? Or does it?
Well, there's always public participation.
Right.
They can say whatever they want, just like last time. The public
That's only at the beginning, for the
That's only at
first
the
5
beginning, but I'm
minutes.
saying it's.
And you have the right to.
It
But then-
depends on what kind, unfortunately, the commission has set a precedence by accepting site development and remediation work. And I think you need to decide what you're going to accept for this violation. Are you just going to have them address the violation? Or are they gonna say, well, you know, and we're gonna develop this property and add,
Somewhere along the lines, I think it was brought up that one of the complications is that they're not going to remediate it to restore it. They're gonna remediate in the process of the development, right? Wasn't that kind of discussed? It's not like they're gonna like say, let's just say, fill in the hole and then wait 10. They're gonna figure out how they're gonna develop the property, go to P&Z, which is gonna trigger a public hearing with us, right, first, because it's all within.
if it's gonna be a development, then yeah, I think it would.
But I have a feeling that's part of their remedy. The remedy is that they're waiting to they're gonna snapshot, let us know how, they're gonna come up with a plan to deal with the violation, but in conjunction with a forward development plan after they get something approved on a town level. Right? Is that, I kind of think, if I'm remembering correctly?
I just want to reiterate,
Yeah.
as far as this issue is concerned,
Right.
once they come with a plan, once there's an application, it doesn't matter if there's a public hearing or not. I believe at that time, intervention is allowed.
Okay.
And the intervener can speak, just like the property owner could speak, could address the commission. There does not have to be a public hearing. That's something separate.
Even in a remediation or violation proceeding?
I think if there's a remediation plan that's presented to the commission, that's basically an
That's still a proceeding.
application.
Okay.
And then it's a proceeding.
But is
There's
that-
no
but that's
question in my
public hearing.
mind, at that
It doesn't
point,
have
there's
to
a
be a public
proceeding.
hearing. It doesn't have to be a
It
public
does
That's
not
right.
have to be a public hearing, not for the intervention. When you are allowed to intervene under the statute, you become a party to the proceeding. So you're in the same shoes as the property owner. You're not just like any member of the general public.
Right.
You
So
have
they
the
become
right-
a
So it
part
sounds like
of-
he has, so what clarifies it legally that he has intervened, he doesn't have intervening status now, but he does when they come back with a
We have to
plan?
vote.
Correct.
We have to
There's
vote
gonna be a
first.
decision.
So we have to vote first to say whether or not he can intervene
Now.
this status now, at the next time they come back, which is February 26th, or he has to wait until we suddenly have an application, then he can intervene.
So there's no case law in which a committee refused to allow intervener status and there was a suit and they were supported.
I don't understand your
There's no-
question.
there's no
There's
case
no
law where-
case law dealing with this specific situation.
In which someone wanted intervener status, they were refused it, and they went to court, and then the court agreed that they didn't.
I can't answer that
Nobody's ever done
question,
it.
whether there is a case ever dealing with a situation
'Cause
where
you
a
haven't seen it.
commission
Okay.
refused, but I'm just saying, in this particular type of situation, both attorneys researched it, I researched it. We don't have anything directly on point. I'm giving you my legal opinion based on everything I've looked at, that I don't think from a legal standpoint it is appropriate for intervention at this time under the statute. That's my legal opinion. Again, I don't think there's any question that once an application is filed, whether that's for a particular type of development, for remediation, whatever it might be, at that point in time, there is intervention status. There does not need to be a public hearing.
So it sounds like we'd actually be putting ourselves more in jeopardy by accepting him as an
Yeah.
intervener at
Right,
this time.
because we haven't done anything.
Because we're not doing anything that he
Could be
can
a-
challenge anything we're not doing.
That is
Yeah, but-
my concern.
but
I
on the
don't
other case,
want
do we need to
him.
make
On
a
the other
motion?
case, he can sue us for not letting him in.
Well, then
And-
that's,
And then we have to,
For what, though? We didn't do anything yet.
we didn't let him speak.
But we also asked for the advice of counsel.
And
And if
counsel
we
said,
follow the
yeah.
advice of counsel.
It doesn't
we
mean
are-
we're not gonna
we
get
it-
s-
What?
It doesn't mean the
Well, you can
town
sue, I
doesn't
could,
get
I could
sued.
sue you for parking my parking spot, right?
There's no
So, but-
guarantees either way.
Right.
Sue him for anybody.
I mean, I
I'm just,
can't-
I'm just trying to think a situation where we get sued by the guy, by the property owner, by letting him speak when we didn't make a decision. I just don't see,
Well,
Well, that's
That's
right.
kind of
If
the
you,
same
if you
thing.
allow him, if you allow him
Okay.
to intervene, the property owner may challenge
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
but
I
what's
mean-
the damage at that point?
But if we follow the rules.
You know what I mean? You should know how to speak. Well, we made no decision, there was no damage.
Well,
I,
think what it is-
okay, in my opinion, I'm speaking now as your counsel, I think that the decision should be made based on sound legal advice, not based on
what ifs.
might we be sued or might we not be sued? This is a legal question. I could turn out to be wrong. I'm not the judge. Obviously, if somebody goes to court, I cannot guarantee, but I'm telling you that based on research, and this was also discussed with other attorneys in the office who have a lot of experience with municipal work, this is the conclusion we came to. So my advice to the commission is to make a decision about what we consider as legally proper, not who may sue. We can't control that. We obviously have adverse parties here, and we don't know what might happen.
So by saying no to him, we're not giving him the opportunity to just stand up and say, I don't like this idea. This isn't gonna fly.
Again, he can always speak during the public portion like he did last time, but he would not have party status.
So now, what, if we're following your recommendation, I think this might have been where you were trying to go with this, what protection does that offer us as a commission? If something were to go, awry legally? So we follow your recommendation, town attorney, you make a recommendation to us, let's say we don't follow what your recommendation, are we in a worse position liability-wise if we don't follow your recommendation versus following it? What protection does that offer us?
I mean, I think it is generally helpful to a commission if the commission says it followed its attorney's
I
advice.
agree, but I think, we put
I
ourselves in a
can't-
better, but I'm just wondering where's our standing? Like, if, we don't have to agree, right? We hope that we all would agree, but if we don't, and the commission makes potentials or potential liability, if it came to some kind of lawsuit, well, the town attorney on record said, you guys should not accept this, we did it anyways, now you guys are on the hook. Is there any type of protection that way?
Sounds like you kind of coined it. Yeah, if we don't take council's
I don't know, maybe,
recommendations.
but maybe there really is no, if we
you
follow, or
would-
maybe we don't have anything in our
Well, you know
corner
what?
either.
You need sound reasoning for your
Right.
decisions. So I think if you're not going to follow my recommendation, then you should vote and you should put your reasoning on the record. Because if it goes to court, then that should be clear. So,
That's a good, I think that kind of sums it up pretty well. Is anybody here go to law school? They want to put their own legal
No,
opinion on
that's
this?
why-
I didn't.
That's why we're listening to Barb.
Exactly.
That's why we have to have her here. All right, so do we need a motion at this moment?
yes.
Okay. I move that we accept the land use town council recommendation and do not accept an intervener at this time.
I second that.
Second, so we have a motion from Commissioner Spence to accept the town attorney's recommendation. We have a second by Commissioner Massaraco. We done discussing on this one? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
objections? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for all the work you put in on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Deliberations on completed hearings. Complete items from this agenda. Is that? We're done with,
Yeah, we don't have any
Go ahead,
completed
okay, yeah.
items, right?
all right, so bond release, IWC 2014-03, 252 Monroe Turnpike, request for release, original $15,000.
252 Monroe Turnpike is the Goodwill, and everything has been,
Make a motion that we release the bond.
We have a motion, Commissioner Gingrich, to release the bond.
I read the letter already, I'm like, it's done, let's go.
I'll second.
Second for Commissioner Spence, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any abstentions, any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes
I like not
unanimously.
having to talk.
Yeah, good one, that's a
Jim,
good call.
I'm
I read the
sorry,
letter.
Were you
Push
and
it.
I for the motion for the intervener status?
Yeah, reluctantly, I was an
Reluctant, yeah,
aye.
he did say.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
me
just
too.
wanted
I
to
almost wanted to abstain,
double check. Okay,
but- What?
I just wanted to double check, so it was fine. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, on to IWC agent.
No time extension?
Did I miss
No.
something?
No, I just want to make sure.
Abstentions.
Nothing.
Nope, you didn't miss anything.
IWC agent activity reports, agent approvals, then permitted uses as right, IPU -2018-01, Department of Public Works, road repairs, replacement and general maintenance,
That's standard.
blah, blah, blah. IPU -2020-02, 10 Chalk Hill Road, emergency septic repair. What is that?
That was,
Is it residence?
yeah, it's a residence.
Okay. Nothing to say about that? No, just.
No, they were in the upland review area, but it's emergency septic repair. They were, new, chamber, not leaching fields, so.
Enforcement, deliberation on completed remediation submissions, completed items for this agenda, is determined by commission, nothing there.
Yes, yes.
What we do?
48? What we,
Oh, we didn't,
Oh, Cold
we didn't finish that at the time?
well, you discussed
you-
it, but now you need to deliberate and do your thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, that's right, because it's a different deliberation.
Right, it's a
Okay.
different deliberation because it's a violation remediation.
I move that we accept,
The plan-
approve
The plan is,
the plan as
Approved with notes.
approved with, yeah, some conditions, that the mowing schedule be altered according to what we had discussed at length.
do we have a second?
Oh, okay.
I second the motion.
Second, so
Okay.
a motion,
Okay.
And a second.
Okay, and so the discussion is,
Discussion was that the,
Work to be completed by May 31st.
right,
Mow as needed for the successful growth of new plantings of first growing season, perhaps longer if determined by monitoring reports.
Yes, that's what, that's what it
Mhm.
said.
and I think that was all we had, isn't
And
it?
a 3-year monitoring, obviously.
And then we don't normally do a bond for those,
Right,
so.
because it's a violation. Okay.
So, vote, then, sir?
Okay, so we have a motion, all in favor? Aye? Aye. Any noes? Abstentions? Motion passed, oh, you did? I'm
He
sorry.
abstains because he wasn't here.
I'm sorry, one abstent, not.
One
You know what I'm
absent.
trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say? Don't make me say it. All right, motion passes. Okay. Done with that section. Administrative review, enforcement issues, nothing, status updates, nothing. General discussions,
Okay, I'm gonna try to make these really quick, so, because I know all of us wanna
yeah, we're doing pretty good for that.
to jet out of here. Okay. 97 Trailside. We had, this is back to an old,
This has
crap.
been behind, in front of us more times.
Yeah, it's the, an old subdivision, this is even before my time. This is what was approved, and I'm trying to get it to enlarge. So what was in red, I guess, what was part of the approved, so the lot in question, this is 97 down here. Originally, the driveway was coming off of Birdside. Now the driveway is coming, it's a common driveway coming off of Trailside. So this is what was approved in red with the changes. That was what was approved. Oh, sorry, I didn't change that back.
No.
Now, why can't I get this bigger? Here we go. What's approved, the driveway's gone, but this here, they have a curtain drain. They have got the swale, and then now they have a curtain drain coming, and it's discharging at the edge of the property towards the wetland. So, right now, it's in the office for review. I'm holding it up because this is different than what was approved, so how do we want to handle this?
How different is it?
They never had anything going out this way towards the wetlands.
But that was the old driveway.
We'll see,
That was the original proposed driveway?
this was the, yeah, let me see if I could get this bigger. The driveway used to come here, so we're
Okay.
looking in this
Was
area, the proposed driveway. Now the driveway comes this direction, so this is the area where they have that curtain drain.
What's the curtain draining?
Yeah, it looks like it's for the septic.
It looks like it's coming off the house.
No, the curtain drain there
Well,
is probably
here.
to protect the septic system, if it's up there.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see the septic, yeah. I just see it at the corner of the house, so I
Yeah.
didn't,
Well, let me ask you something. So the approval was to have the road, that long
the
driveway.
driveway coming off of Birdside,
So- And
correct.
that's also on upland review area, right?
Correct, so that's why I didn't, this was all before me, so I
So
did
does-
not wanna make a decision on my own saying, oh yeah, it's not it's no
So the
big.
pros and cons here, or whatever you wanna call it, is that instead of having a
Instead
driveway
of having all of
constructed
this,
in the
right,
upland review area, which could shed oils and whatever other stuff, I'm assuming that wetlands is downhill, right?
yeah,
From there.
looks,
Yeah.
Now they're coming off the other road, so it's less
so now it's
controlled,
coming off this driveway, yeah,
uncontrolled runoff.
driveway's over here.
Yeah.
So actually, the
Oh,
impervious
so
area
that's a
is
grass swale?
further away, so this is a
Yeah.
grass swale.
But at what point does it become, does it stay grass all the way done, or does
Yeah.
it get piped?
No, because this is it's a swale, it says 1 foot wide, 1 foot deep
So
swale.
this has not been built yet?
No.
Oh.
It's, right now, it's in the departments for approval.
Oh, okay.
And the curtain drain is not surface water, it's groundwater. Unless, there's no leaders involved in that, right?
No, it seems the
Leaders.
only,
that-
Where's the drainage for the roof water?
here, this
There.
would be a roof
Roof
drain.
drains, and, so they got okay, so those are the footing
Footing
drains,
drain
roof
is
drains
back
going to
here,
the
here's a
back.
roof drain.
Why aren't they just making the curtain drain go to there, unless it's below it? I mean, you can't really see the-
514. I'm looking for another elevation, 520, 18, 16. That's 10, so that's lower.
That's 510.
That's
And we're gonna
510.
Follow 510 down for us?
Pardon?
Keep following,
510?
let's say we go follow 510 all the way
510
down.
goes right through here. Here's
And the
510,
outlet, and then where does it go down to where this other thing?
right here.
So that one is outletting at a little bit above 512, the footing drain and the
It's
the
more
overflow
like-
for
well, this
the
is-
roof drain?
It's more like
No,
518.
the outlet here,
Oh, down here?
512.
That's 512.
So, 512.5, okay, and then what, did they have an elevation on the curtain drain?
I did not see an elevation of the curtain drain.
And there's one at the outlet.
Only at the outlet, which says it's 510. The
Now,
pad
is the
at
swale,
510.
is the swale also, new, or was the swale there previously?
The swale's new because it was, the driveway didn't come down this direction before.
What's the swale for?
Runoff
Well,
from the
it's
road.
because runoff
Oh,
in the
that's a
driveway, the
that's a
driveway's
driveway,
coming around.
that's a shared driveway now?
Yes,
That's not the road, because it's not a
it's a
cul-de-sac.
shared driveway. So you have drainage coming down so that these people don't lose their yard. They've done
So this is still conceptual.
this is still conceptual,
Okay.
correct.
Now, my question is, the curtain drain, does that empty into the swale, or does that pipe go all the way to the end, to the pad at the end?
It appears to me that it goes to the pad. Because, and I'm
It's a
looking too,
curtain
because
drain,
it
so it's
says,
underground, so it's clean water to start with.
right, and it says here
Um,
it's a tight pipe because it's near the septic system, so.
Right. That sounds like something I've run into before,
Where's the
which is
pipe,
when
where's the, it's a,
it outlets at the pad.
no, what's the size of the pipe? Oh, it's probably just a 4-inch pipe, gotcha.
I personally don't mind that, as long as there is trench interrupters or something in case the flow is heavy.
It does look like they have,
Is that what they are?
that's,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what these look like to me.
Okay. Okay.
No, that's the grading, that's a swale, it's showing the swale.
Oh, that
grade.
is, sorry, that is on the grading, you're right.
So check dams, I think, would be
Yeah.
appropriate there.
I mean, they do have a rip-wrapped pad at the end.
Right, but that's,
It's all
but-
lawn, it's all lawn area around there,
It's all lawn area.
pretty
Everything's
flat lawn area.
It
Looks
appears to
really
be flat with the grading, yes.
It's gonna
And the old
grass,
septic was located there in the approved drawing? That was the septic location?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, same
Yeah, so, I
area.
mean, to me, they've gotta have the curtain drain for the septic to work, and it's better to have the septic working than
yes, because that draining into
Yeah.
wetlands
than
is
some
a
groundwater going towards wetlands.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
don't see,
So the curtain drain
any
is a
issue.
footing drain, or?
curtain drain is like a French drain, you know, it's gravel down to the elevation of the pipe. And basically, water coming under the surface, in the ground, hits that, falls down, goes into the pipe instead of flooding the leaching field.
So what's the depth of the pipe at the house?
Probably.
It's not really at
probably
the house,
depth
it's
of
the point of it's not.
Probably
Well,
the depth of the septic.
Well,
It's
here's
for
the
the
thing,
driveway.
if it's low, well, we don't know what the footing drain height is, but we know that the basement floor is 517.7.
Yeah.
So it's much higher.
6 feet?
Wait,
Yeah.
he's gotta be down below.
510 was the opening at the end?
Is that oh, you can see the grading, that's that's almost like a walkout on the side, because look at all the grade lines along by the
Over
front
here,
door.
yeah.
No, yeah, on the other side, so that's a lower level,
Right.
so they're way down, so yeah, they're protecting
They're protecting their,
Yeah, that's what. it
I'm
looks
just
like.
wondering why I couldn't go into the footing drain, but I think it's below the footing drain, is my guess. That current drain is below the footing drain, so they couldn't tie it into the footing drain pipe.
But there might be sheet flow off the driveway too, so the swale at least picks up the sheet.
Well, the
flow.
swale's one thing, because that's just like, but, you know, the outlet of well, it's all the same, really.
It's all the same, it's really going, it's even going into the same wetland, so it's,
Yeah,
I think
It's in
staff should
different
just
sections.
review and approve.
yeah.
Okay,
I think that looks, it's okay with
Yeah, it
me.
doesn't look like it's doing anything.
I think it's better off, I think they're better off for everything. Without building that driveway.
As long as they don't end up piping it.
Next.
okay, next.
All right, next is
Oh, the
Main
one
Street,
Main
Street.
Street?
I will leave for. Lois, you can have the gavel.
Because it's from the same company.
What?
Yeah, it's the same, yeah. We know, it's the same company.
Yeah,
Except
well,
that it's not even, that's
Well, no,
not even us,
I
though.
own that.
I know, oh,
I own One Main
Yeah.
Street.
oh.
So that's, so I don't know if that was ever clarified to you guys.
Oh.
Denied. Oh, are you still here?
Thanks. I'm moving out of town.
Oh, God.
I don't see why we have to even deal with that. P and Z just wants to make something.
Don't talk about it yet. Let's see the plan.
Okay,
Oh,
I got this on the later side, so I didn't have a chance to make copies, but the letter that Larry LaPierre had mentioned in the beginning from Jim McManus, I have it here where he's stating that that area is not a wetland. But what I liked about it is you have some pictures,
oh,
so you could kind of see, and I made sure that they also gave me a survey so we could look at it and know exactly where we are. This head wall actually is in Trumbull. And the water meanders out of that head wall. And you can see it's just in this low-lying area. And then this is the head wall in the Monroe side that then goes underneath 25 and across the street to 4 Main Street.
It's runoff, it's a hill. So you only get, only time you really that gets affected is if it's,
Now,
raining. or-
I was there Tuesday morning, ground's covered in snow,
Yeah.
and there was water flowing out of it.
Yeah, it's just draining. Everything from the hill is just melting and going down the hill.
Right, so here is the,
So what they're basically trying to do is make that road curve differently or something, or?
well, so what I did, I got the, I can't see.
That's what I was trying to figure out, is like, how he was describing.
yeah, do we have an overall plan?
Because
we've
P and
not
Z
seen-
said they need to fix the road.
Well,
because
that's why,
something-
so this survey here is 1 Main Street. So this is a little piece that everybody is talking about.
Can you really seriously zoom in on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
So this is the piece that everyone's talking about. So before we even get to what the development, over here is, this is the piece that has caused the whole contention is, are they in a regulated area or not? The head wall I showed you in the beginning is right here. That's the head wall on Trumbull side. We saw the water come out, and then this is the head wall on Monroe's side.
Okay, so
Okay.
what's the question? Sorry, to back up.
So
What,
the question is, P and Z felt that
there might be some wetlands?
that because of that there was wetlands. I rotated this earlier.
And did their soil scientist
So-
says there's no wetlands?
Their soil scientist came back as saying that it's not wetlands.
Okay, and do we have
So-
someone who disagrees with him?
No, so the question is, are we gonna go on Jim McManus's report and say, okay, so then P and Z could continue their public hearing as it is, or are we gonna say, we think it's actually wetlands, and then they have to withdraw the application at P and Z because they have to come to us before they could go to P and Z.
Does this head wall, now, if the flow goes from Trumbull into Monroe? Is that-
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what is the source of the water that comes out of the head wall in Trumbull? Stream. Is there,
Wait, let me find, here's one again. So this is the head wall. It's a pipe under this this old turnpike.
No, that's
let's
25.
start at the beginning
So-
and go to where it ends up,
So
okay?
head wall, okay.
You're in Trumbull.
I know, so this is Trumbull. Here's the head wall in Trumbull. So
Okay.
there's a catch basin across this old turnpike. So there must be water, the water comes down this hill. Here's the catch basin.
Or
It
is
also,
that-
it also comes from that driveway,
comes
because
from the
one of the
road, too,
houses
though,
right there
Mhm.
has a steep hill driveway
Yeah,
coming down.
everything is
So
up.
anything that melts or whatever is coming down that driveway right into that catch basin.
And the
And
catch
then it goes
basin,
underneath the road and comes out into Monroe.
right. So this is the head wall in Trumbull, meanders, this is the head wall in Monroe,
Mm-hmm.
goes under 25, This is where 4 Main Street is.
Yeah, there's no stream or anything there. I've ridden bikes through there and it's nothing. It just, when it rains,
Intermittent water.
because it's a hill,
Which is
everything comes
kinda
down
what
those driveways.
Intermittent water course is a water course and therefore under our jurisdiction.
But it's not
So we-
necessarily a,
Wetlands.
So if it's a drainage, if we find that we're considering it a drainage area, that's not necessarily an intermittent water course. An intermittent water course has a definition,
And
and
then we
it's
have to
got
have 2 of the,
two of the 3
conditions.
criteria that are required, and the.
Isn't like flowing water, it's gonna like constantly flowing water or?
scouring was one of them, basically like some sort of scouring. The other is a defined channel. And there
Right.
seemed to be a defined channel, at least coming out of the Trumbull side.
Do you think it was created when they developed, put those houses in? That forced the water in that area, or? did-
I went back looking at some older topo, because I didn't have the survey at the time, and I was trying to understand it myself, because as Clark asked, are there any streams? No, there really weren't any streams in the area. It's kind of like, that's just a low area, like when they built
Yeah.
25 and when they built this old turnpike.
Mhm.
So it's just a low area that, they just dumped drainage in it, but that
Yeah,
doesn't
'cause
mean it's
everything-
not.
Everything that, like, the whole, like, that whole hill, that ridge, when they put those houses on, it's all coming gradual downwards right into the Route 25. And all that stuff is, whatever comes off those houses is going right onto that road, goes right down to the catch basin, and then goes underneath the road again into Monroe's low side, so now it's like Monroe's lower than Trumbull is.
Mhm.
This was,
Yeah.
granted, this was the snowy day, but just to give you an idea, this isn't even the steep part. This is the property that caused this whole
So the
thing.
water is coming
But
from,
You could
the
see
water's
how high the
coming from-
properties go.
from Trumbull to Monroe.
Correct.
And
And they wrote a letter to
so
both
any
Trumbull
drainage
and
is going
Monroe.
away from on this new development isn't going in that direction.
Yeah, their
Correct.
drainage would be.
I thought it was going,
Their drainage is, the
But the
development,
That's what we
The
haven't
new-
seen. We
the
haven't
new
seen the
work.
plan for
this
the
is
new
the,
development.
this is a new development, and let me get this rotated.
They wanna change the way that road
Does that
turns.
say counterclockwise?
Instead of being, the way that the road is now, it's
Clockwise.
like an arrow, it's like, it goes right
Here
into
we go.
25. They wanna change it now, because they wanna take that corner and they
Right,
wanna
and make
turn,
it into-
Right.
they wanna make it so it's hard, they don't want people driving off of 25 and like zooming into that road, they wanna make it different. I
See,
think.
and you can see on this is the plan that they sent to me, and it's because planning and zoning was saying they didn't like, how are you gonna do the road? And then there was talk of, well, we wanna change the road, because now the road comes out, and trying to get out of this, if you were taking a right turn from here, it's awful. I tried it in the town car, it was awful. So the discussion was, well, this is the property across the street that's in front of the planning and zoning. Driveway comes down, well, if they fix the road, they wanna have the driveway here, which now goes through that lot 1, which is what we were just looking at. And that's how this whole thing came about, is do we feel we have jurisdiction? Do we feel it's a wetland? The fact that they hired someone who went out and wrote this report and said, no, is that good enough for us, or what?
I'd have to see it,
Can I just go back to Jim's letter?
just to
Yeah.
get a good look at it,
Yeah.
Yeah, we would need to look at it.
Here.
It just seems to be
This is
kinda-
Jim's letter.
All right, so let's see, talks about.
Isn't it the soil, the type of soil?
two roads.
Not necessarily in an intermittent water course. The criteria is that it, let's see, delineated by a defined permanent channel and bank, and the occurrence of 2 or more of the following characteristics: evidence of scour or deposits of recent alluvium or detritus, the presence of standing or flowing water for a duration longer than a particular storm incident, and the presence of hydrophytic vegetation. Now, we don't know about the vegetation because there's snow on the ground, so we can't even consider that
So
That
two.
leaves two other, evidence of scour. Now, we did see a pretty defined channel.
We did, at least
Right.
on the Trumbull side, but then when you get towards Monroe.
Oh, it's not our side.
Right, right.
All
that's-
right, there's a little bit of an
Okay,
issue,
so,
yeah.
you know,
Okay,
And they're making the driveway on our side
correct.
better, because that is a terrible driveway.
It's a very bad intersection, yeah.
and the presence of standing or flowing water for a duration longer than a particular storm incident, which it does seem to have, because it wasn't raining when Denise was there.
And it wasn't raining in his photos, because he went out on the 16th, which was last
And it was-
Thursday.
How is the driveway gonna affect this area that we're talking about? Is it like
Yeah.
right in the
Well,
middle of it?
'cause if you kept the driveway the way it is right now, you're merging up a hill onto a busy
Yeah,
road.
but he's not talking, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, they want-
He's
they
talking about
want-
from a wetlands perspective, is that what you mean, or is it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
is
you
the
see-
driveway gonna go right through this area? now?
Yeah, you see that right now, this is the right of way. This hatched area,
Yeah.
this is where it hits Route 25. So they're talking about changing it and putting a curve through it and abandoning this part of it, so that someone coming down this road, now it's almost more like a 90-degree.
90 instead of a, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, from a safety standpoint, it makes total sense.
Now,
Um,
not that it has anything to do with that, planning and zoning would rather see it come straight down here instead of going
Oh, you
around
mean,
here.
so right now, that's the proposed plan, but.
This is the
planning and
proposed,
zoning
planning and
wants it
zoning would
straight.
would like it straight.
Oh,
Either way,
okay.
it's affecting us, because is there wetlands, is there not?
But I'm saying, when this is done, where's the water flowing? It's coming across the street,
They
that
have it,
that
yeah,
direction,
they're
right?
going into the catch basin that's on this old road,
And
which is.
it's all flowing away, so I'm saying, even if.
No, it's not flowing away, because it goes into the catch basin, goes into the head wall on Trumbull, and then goes into ours.
So our area would not be altered except by the additional water? Is that, they're not doing any physical work
No,
to that area?
no. But, they're adding drainage, obviously. The drainage goes into the Trumbull.
Yeah, so
head
they're gonna
wall,
probably
which then-
improve the drainage
Well,
to
if
make the
they are,
driveway
then,
better.
yeah,
I don't know, my opinion is if they've got an expert saying it's not,
well,
and we don't have anything, we don't have anyone who necessarily is willing to go on it, and I think that's.
Well, but then the other thing is, we could say we want them to hire somebody that we approve to double check. I'm just saying that we do have that right,
Yeah.
Except Jim,
but,
commission has taken Jim McManus's.
yeah, and I'm
we've
just.
taken his word for it.
I have to bring this to you because P and Z held their hearing open until we decided whether a wetlands permit is needed or not.
I don't think we need to add a wetlands permit on that. I'd rather they're gonna have to improve the drainage anyway, because they have to make that driveway the way, I
Well, you
don't
know
know.
what-
But if it's
The way
wetlands-
the driveway is now, if it's straight, there's gonna be accidents continuously coming in and out of that driveway.
Yeah, but that's not our concern,
But it's
Clark.
considered to be
Yeah, but I mean, even if, to me, even if he came, he's gonna present that letter, he's
And
gonna.
it's the same, they sent me the same letter.
You gotta agree
Trumbull
with the
got
guy
the same
unless
letters
we see
we did.
something that we really think is.
I mean, this area here, to me, that looks like a defined channel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
but that is
I
you-
would agree with you.
and that looks like.
Right, and
It
then
looks like it's just a mess.
this is going into ours. This is going, it just kind of.
It's just wash.
It's just wash,
Mhm.
and then here's our head wall, and I could not, this was before the
So I
snowstorm.
think 25 has impacted that drainage anyway.
I mean,
It just goes into the ground when it comes through from
I
Trumbull.
wonder
to
if
ours.
there's gonna be an effect across the road where it empties into 4. So does that, is that something we have to consider? It's because it is going to impact the wetlands on the other side of the road.
Down behind the buildings, all the way down.
I'm not sure where that actually empties, because it looks like it empties right in the middle of.
On his letter, it says it continues to the east, which
Yeah.
is
That's-
very
that's
vague.
that.
here's 4, so here's the
where-
head wall,
all
I
right,
mean,
if you can give us a general idea, where is the filling right now? Where's the building, for
the
instance?
building is probably right around here.
So is that emptying right into the area that's being filled? And we just made an
Well, we're
approval
further
for
back,
filling.
this is way up in the front.
Yeah, but I mean,
The
if you
driveway
think about
comes, hold on. driveway comes, here's the driveway.
Oh,
Don't forget, because it's in, the way it's in more than one town.
right.
So
right.
it's right on, it comes down and around, so you're looking down here. They're bringing the site up to the level that it is up here.
Yeah, I know, I was trying to place that
Yeah.
particular pipe.
So is that
To-
Vitramont property?
Is it
For
Vitramont's?
me,
Is it Vitramont's property?
No,
Used to be
Vitramont's
Vishay?
is over here.
All right, so what is that then?
This is the other property that was in front of us.
Is it empty?
No, this is the one that has the building on it.
confused.
Mitch's, and you go in the driveway, you go down and around, the old
Is that the
firearms.
karate
and-
place, the firearms
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And used to be a greenhouse,
Oh,
not
yeah,
greenhouse.
I've got it, I'm not,
The driveway goes down, and, you
Right,
know,
I know
there's
the
a
Driveway is so
hill.
steep that it's so hard to get out of that driveway, it's
Right.
scary.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the report and that this location does not need a wetlands permit at this time.
should do more about it.
He's looking like, hello?
Well,
Anybody?
we're thinking.
Well, you second and then we can discuss.
Second it,
I wish I knew how much of an impact it's gonna have
I don't think it's been an impact, because.
across the road.
Well,
Because I mean, that
Because of the
property's,
extra drainage.
that property's never been wet. I mean, even when they had the greenhouse stuff and all that, they had like those giant sprinklers going
This
crazy.
is north of
And
that,
it was so
though.
dry, you drive by there and you're like, man, it doesn't look like
But
it's
now-
even.
they're gonna be coming in when they develop this. I mean, right
Yeah.
now, we approved that for the filling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when they come in for doing, a proposal,
They're gonna have
Yeah.
to deal with that.
they're gonna have to deal with it then.
Okay, then, that's fine. I guess I'm in charge. Scary, ain't
The
it?
term is all in favor.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so I will write a letter to the planning and zoning, letting them know. Okay.
Can we also add an addendum to that?
That's-
that If
it is
there are
kinda
to be
funny,
any
though.
changes to that area,
Trouble, yeah,
that we
the
should.
trouble
know
side looks like it's wet, and then suddenly, as it goes under 25, it suddenly becomes nothing.
I
It's
know, it's
like
weird.
our side looks like it's just been a hole in the wall, in the
Yeah.
The road there, just a hole. It's like, where did everything disappear?
Where does it go?
They must have probably crushed the pipe or something, like when they built 25 and
That
compacted it
could
down.
be, either that or the pipe is so large that the water spreads out.
Yeah, it's spread out,
and it
and
just-
it, but
it
the thing is,
doesn't have a
it's-
defined
Yeah, there's no defined
area to go
channel
to,
anymore.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that driveway is bad, though. They got,
Okay. Yes, it is.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm waiting for them to fix that one.
One other thing I wanted to say before I left, the time I took this position, we had checked, I had checked and when I disclosed, we checked the maps that didn't show any wetlands on my property. So it just so happened, just wanted
Yeah.
to tell
We
you.
figured,
No, you're good.
No, I know, I just wanna make sure that you guys knew that. I never expected my property was gonna come here.
Yeah, well,
Wouldn't
but
begin.
one wasn't part of it at the time either.
Yeah, well, we
So-
owned it, but it wasn't on
But
the
it
map.
wasn't, right.
It was on it wasn't on the wetland maps, so we figured it was never gonna show up here, so just wanted to make sure you guys knew that.
Yep.
Okay, so we're on to, minutes.
minutes,
Move to approve the minutes with changes.
second,
We have a motion to approve the minutes with changes.
Okay.
I'm doing gym, I'm in the gym seat, I'm sorry. Something keeps hitting my head. Second.
The changes would be, item C on the first page, it's not general business, it was public participation. On page 3, the third line, the third paragraph, Commissioner Spence asked for a deep list of clean fill ingredients. You can take the out. Does that make sense? You get it? It was, I don't want a list of what the clean fill is, I want a list of what deep considers clean. Okay, then, at the bottom of the page, under Cold Spring Road, the second line in that paragraph, the trees that were on the edge of the town property, that were bordering his property, were destroyed by, destroyed by Gloria, and, yeah, I'm gonna let you have it. Mr. Carbone noted this is a wetlands violation and encroachment into town property and using it as his yard. Let me see. Next page, we have silk fence. We have silk fence again on the second line, and silk fence. And then after that, where it says the hearing was continued to 1/22/2020, that's all out of order. So all I did was to put it into order. I'm gonna hand it to Donna so that she can rewrite it. Mr. Weinberg did not recuse himself at all. And, let me see. After the vote, let me see, under the 4 Main 5 Victoria vote, Agent Denise Halstead informed the commission that there is still significant activity happening at that site. I will once again hand this to you, so it's good. Next page, page 5, top of the list. Second by Commissioner Weinberg. There's a G at the end. And then under the general discussion having to do with 536 Monroe Turnpike, there was just a few more clarifications as to what the, I wrote that Jim Stewart noted that they're putting in addition, burying propane tanks, and there was including adding floor space, blah, 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 just as to what reasons that we wanted to have it brought to us.
Okay.
And that's it. Have fun. Okay. Need a vote.
We have to do
All in
a second?
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Any abstentions? No. Motion passed unanimously. And we have
Almost there.
Regulation Amendment Committee.
I'm waiting to hear
Yeah,
that
I didn't even get
there's a
a
lot
chance.
going
I'm
on,
so
so we didn't
sorry.
get it to Barb yet.
Public
Okay.
Outreach Committee.
Nothing going on.
Correspondences.
Nothing.
Adjourn this meeting at 8:49 PM.
Move to
All in favor?
adjourn.
Second?
So we have a motion to close the meeting by Commissioner
Aye.
Spence, second by
Aye.
Commissioner Lee. All in favor?
Okay, so
Unanimous.
shut the.